now, and it wasn't then, but it was way back when, that a drover, a cattle herder, had just married his second wife, because his first had died, giving him a beautiful baby boy, who he loved with all of his heart. But his second wife, well, she did not love the boy. She was filled with jealousy and anger, and over the years, these boiled over. And she started to be mean and wicked. She would needle and wheedle, knit and pick, prod and poke. She would never give him half enough to eat, and anything that did him any good she thought was better given to the pig. And so it was. One night when the boy was sent to bed, she turned to her husband and she said, "I've had enough. That boy is so mean and so wicked, you must send him far away, because I cannot deal with him anymore." Well, the father was shocked. No one had ever had a bad word to speak about the boy. And although he heard all of these things being said, he could not send his only boy away. But he couldn't upset his wife. And so he thought for a moment, and he came up with an idea. And he turned to his wife and he said, "My dear, the man who looks after the cows, well, he's lazy, and he always falls asleep up at pasture, leaving the cows open to attack from the wolves. Why don't I send the boy? He can look after them, and he'll be out of the house and out of your hair. You won't have to worry any longer." Well, the wife, she wasn't satisfied, but she did like the sound of the wolf. Maybe that wolf would gobble the boy up and she'd be free of him at last. And so it was. The next morning, the boy was woken early, given his pack, and sent off with the cows through the village and up to the pasture. And there he watched the cows just as his dad had told him. Now, if anybody's watched cows for any length of time, you will know that they don't do a lot. They generally moo, they chew, and they poo. And so it was. Very soon the boy was bored. And I don't know about you, but when I get bored, I start to get hungry, and so too did the boy. So he thought, "I'll just have a look in that pack, see what I can have to eat." Ooh. When he pulled it out, it was rotten and rancid as normal. It was green and slimy and covered in mould, and funnily enough, his appetite soon disappeared. He put it back and decided he wouldn't eat a morsel until he got home to his dad, maybe nick something off of his plate. And so now, he was miserable and bored. And just as he sat there with a face of misery, coming down the path, there was a little, crooked old man in scarlet and grey and a long white beard. And he saw the boy's face and he said, "What's wrong with you?" The boy didn't answer. So the old man tried again. "Do you mind if I sit down? I've been walking on this road for many a month and I need to rest my feet." And so the man, he sat down next to the boy, and his stomach gurgled loudly. He saw the boy's pack and he said, "You don't happen to have a morsel that you could share, do you?" Well, the boy picked it up and he said, "You're welcome to what you find, although I wouldn't recommend it." The old man opened up the pack, pulled out that rotten and rancid food, and looked at it as though it was a feast. "Oh, my boy, oh, thank you for such kindness. Let me give you a gift. In fact, let me give you 3 gifts as a sign of my gratitude. But be warned, you must take all 3. For not to receive one means you will get none." So what is it? What is it that you want? Well, the boy's stomach, it gnawed at him, and he thought about food, and he said, "I would like a bow and arrow. That way I can go and catch my own meal." And as soon as he had spoken, there in his hands was a fine strong bow and 6 finely crafted arrows. The old man said, "Now be warned, my boy, these are magic. That bow will never break, and those arrows, they will always find whichever target you choose." And so quickly placing the bow over his shoulder and the arrows in his belt, he turned to the old man and he said, "Oh, thank you! If only I had my pipes with you, I would play you a tune to show you my gratitude." "Ah, pipes it is you want." And no sooner spoken, there was a fine set of pipes in his hand. And so the boy placed them to his lips and he started to play such a tune of excitement and exhilaration that his feet, they started to tap and started to dance. And so too did the old man. But it didn't stop there. For very soon so were the cows, the birds in the trees, the rabbits down the holes, and even the worms in the ground. And when that song finished, they all fell to a heap, exhausted and panting. And the old man, he said, "What will be your third gift?" But the boy thought, and he didn't know. He had food to feed his belly and he had a song to fill his heart. What more could he want? The old man looked at him and he said, "There must be something that makes you miserable, something that I can help you with." And it was then that a dark shadow appeared across the boy's face as he thought about his stepmother and all of her wicked deeds. And for the first time in his life, he opened up like a book and he started to tell of all of those mean and cruel things that she had done. And when he'd finished, he turned to the old man and he said, "I love my father dearly, and I would never wish him any heartache, but I do so wish that somehow the heavens would be alerted to her cruel behaviour and she would get her just rewards." A wicked smile appeared across that old man's face, and he said, "Don't you worry, my boy. The next time she has a mean thought about you, such a fanfare will sound that it will alert the very heavens, and she will receive her punishment." And with that, he said his farewells and off he left. The boy saw that the sun was just beginning to go down and that it was time to go home. And so he gathered up the cows and started to walk down the path, placing the pipe to his lips, and he started to play. And as he played, he danced. And not only did he dance, but so too did the cows. They came up on their back legs and they twirled and they whirled right the way round, all the way down that path, through the village, where people stared with astonished faces through the windows. And then he came home. He opened up the pen, let them in, locked them in tight for the night. And for the first time, and for as long as he could remember, he had hope in his heart as he opened that door. And on the other side of that door was his father, sat at the table, waiting for him with wide open arms, and he swept his son up, and he cuddled and huddled him and wanted to hear all about his day. And so the boy, he started to tell, but he only told about the cows. He didn't tell about the old man, because to do so would mean he'd have to tell about those 3 gifts. And to tell about the 3 gifts would mean he'd have to tell about the wife. And he knew better than to do that. And when he'd finished, his father gave him a lamb chop, thick and greasy, and the boy ate hungrily, and all the gravy and juice slurped down his chin. And the mother looked on with hatred bubbling away inside her, and coursing through her mind was but one thought: "I hope you choke." And as soon as she thought that thought, a fanfare that would shake the very heavens trumpeted from out of her skirts. She shook and turned bright red. The father and the boy both looked at her in stunned amazement, and as she saw the boy, More mean thoughts coursed through her mind, and another cannonball ripped from her petticoat. The more she looked at the boy, the more mean thoughts went through her head, and soon, from beneath her nether regions, it sounded like warfare with explosions and cannon fire. She gathered her skirts around her, and she shot out of the door, running far, far away, and was never